Hi, my name is Robert Harmala from the law firm of Kilpatrick Townsend. We represent the members of the Cobell class, approximately 500,000 to 600,000 individual Indian alatis, landowners, and those with IM accounts.
So what was your presentation concerning today?
Our presentation today was concerning the details of the Cobell settlement, um, explaining that of the $3.4 billion that's been agreed to between the class members and the government, 1.5 billion of that will be used to compensate allottees and IM account holders for what has been either lost through negligence or malfeasance, and attempt to compensate people for the mismanagement of their trust accounts. In addition to that, 1.9 billion will be used to buy fractionated interest from willing sellers at a fair market price in order to help local communities consolidate land for more productive use. A final part of the settlement is a $60 million scholarship fund that any member of a federally recognized tribe will be eligible to participate in. This is my colleague Keith Harper, my co-class counsel.
Oh, we think the presentations have gone very well. It's the vast majority of the class folks that we've met with have been very supportive of the settlement. They understand the nature and scope of the work that's been done to get us to this point, and generally speaking, very supportive of not only the settlement but the pieces of the settlement that will ensure that they'll get paid in the earliest possible way. Since the beginning, I was involved in the litigation team. I've been class counsel since 1997.
Well, you can go back to the original. You can go back to the original determination of the government to try to break up reservations by allotting land to individual tribal members. A consequence of that allotment process was that the government failed to be a good trustee for that land. What they did over time is they failed to collect royalties that were due to those individual owners of the allotment. So, for instance, somebody would have they'd have a tenant grazing on their property, and they would pay the government some fee that should have gone to the owner of that allotment. Well, the government either didn't collect it, lost it, or maybe somebody put it in their pocket. So what this does is settles almost a century of that mismanagement of the money that was owed to allottees. In an ideal world, the settlement amount would reflect what individual allottees actually lost, and what the estates of those who unfortunately passed away before this case took place, what they lost. However, in addition to the government, to their negligence and in some cases their bad behavior, they didn't keep adequate records. The record keeping prevents having that sort of full accounting. In one case, there was literally documents stored floor to ceiling in a barn for several decades. When that barn owned by the B.I.A. Filled up, they took the documents in there and dumped them in basically threw them in the landfill to be replaced by more documents. So willfully destroying documents. The government was held in contempt several times during this case, including 2 secretaries of Interior for the misbehavior of their employees.
Oh, that they've just destroyed massive amounts of documents, that they can't really account, that they don't get fair market value for leases. You know, we basically put proof and evidence to what many Indian people have experienced for many generations. We know in Indian country that this has been a problem for a long time, and basically our lawsuit was about how do you get evidence to establish that it's a problem, and we were able to establish through a lot of evidence, both evidence produced by the federal government, but also evidence that we've obtained through our own independent research and discussions with Indian country.
This is the 5th one that we've done this week in the state of Arizona, starting in Pine Top and finishing over here in Tucson. Next week we'll be in South Dakota. The week after we'll be in the Pacific Northwest. The week after that we'll be in Oklahoma. The response has generally been positive. People have a lot of questions about what the amount of the check might be, how they go about getting that check, when it will come to them, what they have to do. Do they have to fill anything out and send it back in? We're trying to remind people that if you got a notice in the mail with the correct name and address, then you're a member of the class and we have your records and there's nothing else that you need to do. So unfortunately, if you have a relative that didn't, then they need to send in a form. Some people have raised issues that maybe the settlement doesn't go far enough. We're very sympathetic to that. This is not a perfect solution, but politically, it's about as best that we could do, particularly given that Congress has become more hostile to having this case settled since the last election. So I think overall the reception's been positive. This is one of about 50 presentations that we're doing all around Indian country, primarily focusing on those reservations that have the greatest number of allottees. And we're hoping to use these as an opportunity not just to explain the settlement to people in the room, but to have those people go out, talk to their neighbors, their family members. A lot of times, because of the poor record keeping of the government, one person may be identifiable as a member of the class and have gotten some notice, but they may have a brother or a sister who's in exactly the same situation with respect to land ownership that didn't get a notice. They might not have gotten a notice because the government lost their records.
This is the settlement book here, and you'll see that there's a 1-800-961-6109. That's the best way to get in touch with us. There's also a website called www.indiantrust.com, and those are the two best resources for beneficiaries. The best part about what we do is getting out and visiting with Indian folks and Native people that this lawsuit affects, and so we're glad to be on the road and sitting down. We thank Don Autumn and San Xavier for welcoming us here. Thanks.